Okay, welcome in everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are going to finish something called HTML stuff. This is hypertext markup language. We got a very small sneak peek into this last class, but we're going to finish it today. And it's going to help us do the next assignment, which is a fancier weather program. Before we jump into more HTML stuff, there are some prerequisites. We need to finish the last part of Lab 8 and the first couple parts in Lab 9. This is kind of necessary to help us understand formatted strings and will make HTML a lot easier. So let's jump straight into the lab, right? And then later we're going to go into HTML. In particular, Lab 8 and Lab 9. Right, so I just opened up both of these right here. Lab 8 and Lab 9. Let me just put them side by side in case folks are wondering what we're doing. So on the left-hand side, we have Lab 8. We got most of this done last class. And I asked folks to get this part 3 done at home. This part 3 is definitely a little trickier because, we kind of skimmed over the format function. So, we'll do this together. And then we'll move on to the next lab and get the first couple parts done. Right? This is going to probably be a 15-minute intermission. So and then part 3 right here, we're going to finish this at the end of class. Okay, but let's make sure we're very comfortable with formatting, right? The F strings. We should be comfortable with F strings by now, but which is the most important thing, in my opinion. But yeah, let's talk about the format function. All right, we're gonna do this one together. It asks us to repeat each of the questions in part 2, but use the format function instead. All right, as we'll see in programming, there are tons of ways to represent a single thing. So let's do part 2 over again. Excuse me. Okay, part 2, where is it? Yeah, part 2. Let's see. No, I need to run this cell first. That initializes a few variables because we're going to rely on those. So I'm going to run the cell. Okay, so we want to repeat this stuff right here, right? We want to print out these variables. This is the very first part. So there's number 1, and there's number 2, and then number 3. All right, so let's do all 3 of these. So we need to print this out somehow. So I just copied that. And if you take a look at the previous lesson, you'll see that the format function is a string method or a string function, meaning that we take a string and then use a dot function to it. Right? This is a dot format function, which takes in an arbitrary amount of arguments or inputs. Inputs meaning the things that we put inside of these parentheses. Right? In this case, we need to have 3 arguments. Right? 1, 2, and 3. Right? But these arguments need to be represented with holes, and you might have to look at the previous lesson for this. Once again, we did skim over, we did breeze over it pretty quickly, but yeah, you can pretty much look back at here. Right? Go to the lessons, and then where is it? Formatting. Oh, welcome in, Terrace. Yeah, so if folks are wondering where I'm pulling this from, it's the second part of lesson 8. Right, so please review lesson 8 to kind of see how to use this. Yeah. Okay, so we have 3 holes, and we need 3 arguments. Right, in this case, we're just going. It's like interpolation. Right, we're going to put A, B, and C. Right, so A will go inside of this hole right here. B will go inside the second hole, and then so on. Right? The number of holes usually should match the number of inputs to this function. So we'll run this, and it prints it out like this right here, right? Which is exactly what we want. Well, actually, no, it's not printing. Right? We should print it like this right here. Wrap the whole thing in a print function. This way, it actually prints it instead of represents it. So yeah, this is That's part one. I would probably recommend making a template for this. And once again, please see the previous lesson on here. But it might be easier to read if we grab the string and store it as a template, right? So I'll just store as a template string. Right, so then we go like this right here. And yeah, this is what Lisa had earlier that she showed earlier. So yeah, good suggestion right there. Yeah, same thing. It's in my opinion a little more easier to read. Okay, let's do the second one now. Right, there are 3 questions in part 2. So the second part asks us to print this right here. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. Let's see, copy and paste the string, and then make a new cell at the bottom. All right, so you can make a new cell by clicking on this top left plus button, and then we want the template to be different now, right? We want the template to look like this right here. But how many holes should we have in here? Just one, right? This result. All right, so just one hole. I'm going to replace these XX with the curly braces, and then now we can do the template.format. Right, template.format something. Right, remember how we said that the number of arguments is arbitrary? It depends on how many holes there are in here. Right, so we're going to have only one input to this function. All right, what would that argument look like? It needs to be the product of these 3 variables. So we can represent that with A times B times C. All right, so there we go. And then the representation of the last run is like this right here. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and print it. Okay, there we go. I do want to highlight that there is only one input to this function. It looks like 3, but it's 1, right? Because there's no commas inside of here. Okay, people cool with this so far? All right. And then finally, this last one, we want to do this in the format function. This is a multi-line string. And the hint here is to use triple quotes. So let's go ahead and represent this in a template. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste that, make another cell. And the template, I would recommend using a triple quote. This way we can represent it on multiple lines. Okay, there's our template. Right, how many holes are there going to be? There's going to be 3 of them. Right, this is going to be the subtraction, another one, and another one. There we go. We defined our template string, and now we can go ahead and format it. Right, template.format, and once again, how many inputs will be in this format function? Should be 3, right? Because there's 3 holes in this string. So let's put 3. I'll set it up. I'll do 2 commas. All right, just help do 2 commas. This way, there's 3 inputs. So what's in the first input for this function? This first input needs to represent the value in this first hole, which is A minus B, right? Not as a string, right? This is the actual arithmetic. And then next, hopefully people see this, right? The second input is the result that represents this second hole, right? A minus C. And then finally, B minus C. Okay, so there we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and print it. Okay, there we go. So we just did the part 3. I'm going to leave it up here for folks to copy it down. And then after this, we're going to move on to a little intermission. Right, we're going to do this again. Use the format function. Let's see. Hold up. I'm going to leave it up in just a bit. Let me just pull up the next lab. Okay. I'm going to leave this up for folks to copy it down in class. If you want a head start, see if you can get the first couple of parts done in the next lab. So the next lab is lab 09. The goal of this is to understand the differences between the F string and the format. Right, the format function, I mean. Right, it might get a little confusing because they're doing the same things, but yeah, that's the goal of this first two parts. Part 1, formatting and F strings, and then part 2, templates and variables. Don't do part 3 yet. We'll do this at the end of class. Well, yeah, once again, yeah, go ahead and give it a try. And if you're on the recording, please try it out yourself instead of waiting to see the solution. So we're gonna give a 15-minute intermission right here. A little prereq for the next lesson, HTML. People got this down right here on the left. Okay, cool. Then this up. Okay, welcome back from intermission, everyone. Let's get the rest of these done together. The first two parts. Once again, these first two parts are going to just practice formatting and F strings again. Right, two same ways of doing of representing something. All right, it might seem kind of weird, but in about 6 weeks, we'll see why F strings. I mean, no, we'll see why the format function will be good. In about 6 weeks, we'll write a Mad Libs program, um, which will read in templated stories. So this is in 6 weeks, right? We'll do something called Mad Libs, where we're going to take a file, right? And we're not sure what the file looks like, but we do know the file contains a template that allows people to fill in the holes, or fill in the holes meaning finish the story. So we'll see why templates are useful later, but for now, F strings are probably the best. And for the next assignment, the HTML weather assignment, F strings will be a very clean implementation. Right, so just stick with F strings for now, but I just want to expose people to two things. Okay, so first one asks us to print our name. So we should declare a variable here, meaning that we can interpolate this variable into this F string. All right, this formatted string will say, hello, my name is something. All right, so with F strings, the holes need to be interpolated, meaning we need to put a variable in here, right, or some value. Right? In this case, is name. So then we can go ahead and print that out. And there we go. My name is Andrew. Cool, cool. The next number 2 is the same exact thing, right, but with the format function instead of an F string. Right, so think of this as same thing, right? Name is Andrew, and then I'm just gonna set up a template right here. Like the template right here is just gonna be hello. My name is this hole right here, right? A template is like a cookie cutter, right? So we're gonna fill in the cookie cutter with this format function, but we do need a single argument, a single input. Right? This input will be name. Right? It's going to interpolate this into this hole right here. Right, so then we can go ahead and print those out. Should print those now. Okay, same thing. All right, so let's use the format function again, but with 2 holes. Right, this one is asking us to use a templated string. Right, so think of this as right here, right? Template is equal to this string, right? And we're going to end up formatting it. Right? So template.format. Right? This template has two holes, meaning we need to put in two inputs. Right? My name is something, and my favorite color is something. Right? So there's kind of two different ways you can do this. You can put a name here, right? Because I'm using this name because we already defined it in the cell above. Right? So this will work. Right? But as for the color, we don't really have a variable that represents our favorite color. So I'm just going to hard code a string in here. Right? I'm just going to say green. Right? So same thing, right? So let's go ahead and print those out. Okay, my name is Andrew. My favorite color is green. Cool. Yeah, once again, I do want folks to know the difference between like why I use quotes on this one and why I didn't use it. Right, the reason is because name was already defined with this string, but we never defined a variable that contains green. Right, so if you did want to change it, oh, okay, yeah, someone in the Zoom chat says, yeah, I just made another variable for color. Yeah, that's perfectly fine too. So if you were to make another variable for color, you can say something like favorite color is equal to green, and then just go ahead and replace this hard-coded string with favorite color. So yeah, that works as well. Cool, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Joe. Okay, let's move on to the second part, and then we'll go on to HTML. So let's do this. Okay, we want to print out some stuff again. All right, so they're gonna say, hey, start off with this template, right? That has two holes. Right, define two variables. Right, so there we go. We define two integer variables, and now it says print it, right, using the template. Right, so we want to format this template now. Right, the reason why we're using a format is because this is not an F string. Right, this is a string with holes, two holes that we're going to fill in with just A and B. Right, so there it is, and this is the representation of the string. So I'm just going to go ahead and print it. Print it. There we go. Cool. We got the first part done, and then finally, this is the last one. Right, this one is using a different template. The product of something something is something. Right, in this case, there's going to be 3 holes. So let's see what we should fill it in with. Right, so we need to format it with 3 arguments. Right, in this case is 1, 2, and 3. Right, so the first 2 should just be A and B because that's the product that we're calculating, A, B. And then the third one should be the actual result of multiplying them together. Right, so A times B. Right, so let me just double check it. Cool, the product of this and this is the product right here. So we can go ahead and print that representation. Okay, we should be good now. All right, by now, folks should be a little comfortable with the differences with F strings and the format functions. Just a couple little different things. The F string will help us a lot in the next assignment. So we'll jump into that. We need to talk about HTML though. So let's jump back into the HTML lesson. So I'm gonna go here, lessons, and then HTML. All right. Let me see how far we should go. Let me see. Let me just skim with bold, italic, heading, an ordered list table. Bold, italic, heading. Okay, we're gonna jump back and forth between the lab and the HTML lesson. So sorry if it seems annoying, but we're gonna jump back and forth so folks can apply the knowledge right away, right? Instead of cramming the whole lesson and then doing the lab, right? So we're just gonna kind of ping pong back and forth between these two. Last class, we did a very small sneak peek into HTML, right? A way of representing web elements. Right? It's a markup language, not a programming language. It allows us to represent elements and kind of format them nicely. Okay, we got exposed to a couple of tags so far, right? A tag is a thing in HTML that has an opening and a closing one, right? So, and then the stuff in the middle will be formatted based off of whatever tag name we use. Right, so far we've touched, I think, the heading stuff. So let's talk about the heading again. Oh, and make sure you rerun this cell because we refreshed the notebook. So I'm going to run this cell, right, which imports the HTML objects and also the display function. So run this. So here, I'm going to start this over. This in last class, this might have seemed confusing, so I'm going to start this over. Right, the point of this cell is to kind of get introduced to headings. So I'm just going to start this over. Let's start with a multi-line string. Sometimes you might see a website that looks very plain, right? Let's see. Oh, here. What about the creator? So this is a little off topic, but the creator of C++, his website is pretty plain. So let me see. The creator of C++ is named Bjarne Stroustrup. Let me see his website real quick. Stroustrup.com. Okay, you see how simple this guy's website is? It's not that fancy, right? It looks like pure HTML to me. You can probably inspect it or view page source, and I think it's pure HTML. he didn't use any website builders or anything. Super raw. So if I were to click on one of these links, you might see something like a header. Right, this is like a H1, a big title. Okay, I was looking for subsections, but it doesn't look like he has any subsections. It just looks like a bunch of unordered lists, which we'll talk about later. So this right here looks like a bunch of paragraphs, right? Unordered lists, another paragraph, right? Some unordered list again, another paragraph, right? So we're going to talk about this, right? But here, let's go to the Canvas website just to kind of talk about titles, right? I was looking for subsections. So our Canvas website here has a title here, right? This is, you can think of it as a header or a heading, right? An H1 heading. And then there's a bunch of some subsections here, right? Like schedule, you can think of this as a subsection, right? And then also the course description, another subsection, right? But then underneath course description, right, there is two more subsections, right? Meaning sections within sections. Right? And scrolling down, we go grading. This is a big section, right? But within this big section, we have more small sections, right? Projects, and then labs, and then midterm and finals. Right? So let's kind of replicate this in HTML, right? Using heading tags. So this is something that we'll see, I think, somewhere down here, heading tags, right? So, but we're gonna do it all the way in the first cell so people can kind of see, right? So the title of the class is I'm gonna do an H1, right? H1 means a first level title, right? The biggest title possible. So in this case, I'm gonna say CIS 15 Intro to Python, or Python for Everyone. Right, I'm just gonna run this real quick. Okay, there we go. So that's a big title, right? But underneath the big title, there are a bunch of major sections, right? Like there's the schedule, there's the course description, right? So let's just get those two in. Right? I'll get the schedule and the course description. Right? So think of these as smaller titles, right? So in this case, the smaller titles will be H2, right? A second level one. So /H2, and then what was it? It was like schedule, right? And then the next one, let me put some spaces here. And then the next one was course description. Okay, so let me just run this real quick. And once again, the spacing doesn't matter. Everything can be on one single line, but this is a lot easier to read because you can see what's inside what. So I'll run this. Okay, cool. So we got Python for everyone, schedule, course description. Okay, now here's the kind of a trickier part, right? Like a schedule might have a paragraph. I'm going to put a paragraph within the schedule, right? So paragraph is with a P, /P. I'm just going to put some dummy paragraphs in here, like something. This is a paragraph. It doesn't really matter. This is a paragraph. Hello, hello. I'm just gonna copy and paste this over and over again. All right, it doesn't matter. Okay, there we go. I just put a paragraph. Hello, hello. I'll press play. All right, see, and then you see how it says this is a paragraph. Hello. All right, if I were to do another one, all right, this is another paragraph. All right, we see that inside of the schedule, there are now two paragraphs. All right, this is the first one, and this is the second one. All right, so that's pretty cool stuff. And then next, this is the course description. All right, let's put some things underneath. Oh yeah, someone in the Zoom chat, Joe, it creates a BR, a break. Yes, it does. It creates. That's what this tag does. Right? It doesn't really indent it, but it indents it vertically by adding in a break. Right? So we'll talk about breaks later, but it's towards the end of the lesson. Right? Basically, paragraphs and breaks. Okay. Yeah, let's do some subsections. So we saw in the course description that there are kind of some small sections here, right? Like in the course description, there is a paragraph, right? One single paragraph here, and then some subsections of lists. So let's do this paragraph first. I'm gonna copy and paste this paragraph, right? And then just underneath the course description, right? I'll do an opening tag and then a closing tag, right? The paragraph. And I'm just gonna paste it into here. Paste, boom. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and run it just to make sure it's fine. All right, so boom, run. Okay, cool. So zoom out a bit. Hopefully people can read that. Cool, course description, and we got it right here. Right, okay, next we need to get the subsections. Right, so there's some smaller ones, learning outcomes and course objectives. Right, so let's do learning outcomes. Right, so learning outcomes, you can think of this as a smaller title. Right, so we've encountered H1, right, a level 1 header. We've encountered a H2, right, a level 2 header, which is a little smaller. Now we're going to do a number 3. Right, so H3. H3 /H3. Okay, and then this one is going to be, what is it, learning outcomes? Yeah, learning outcomes. Learning outcomes. And then the next one was, I think, course objectives. Course objectives. Okay, let me just run this just to see if it's fine. Okay, cool. So schedule, course description, and underneath the course description, there are two subsections, right, which we're going to fill in. Right, so let's see. Let's look at the learning outcomes section. Right, so looking at the Canvas website, this is kind of getting ahead of the lesson, but I do want to kind of bring everything together later. All right, so further down the lesson, we'll see something called ordered lists. Right, in HTML, an ordered list has numbers. Right, so this is an ordered list. Right? An unordered list doesn't have numbers; it just has like bullet points. So inside of this subsection, I'm going to create a ordered list that contains two items, right? Two list items. All right, so you don't have to know how to do this yet. This is a sneak peek. All right, so inside of the learning objectives, I'm going to create something called an ordered list, right? And then end it off with /OL. Right, this is ordered list, and then mix some list items. Right, so list items are like bullet points. Right, so list items. Right, in this case, there's going to be two list items. Right, number 1 list item is develop small programs right here. And then number 2 is organize and document. All right, so boom, and then paste right here. All right, so run it. Okay, cool, I just ran it. And then underneath the learning outcomes, we now see a ordered list of 2 things. All right, so that's what we did so far. Inside, underneath this level 3 heading, ordered list. All right, and finally, let's do this course objective. All right, so course objective, there are like 7 of them. I'm not going to do all 7. I'm just going to do like 3 of them. All right, so underneath the course objectives, we'll do another ordered list. All right, so here, a opening tag for ordered list, and then a closing tag for ordered list. Right, and then underneath it, there's going to be some list items. All right, li for list items. So /li, and then I'll go ahead and just copy this a few times. All right, so there's 3 list items, and now I can fill it in. Boom. All right, that's the first list item, and then second list item right here. All right, and the third list item. All right, you can keep going on and on. Okay, and then just press play now. Okay, so I just pressed play, and this is a lot that we typed, but you can kind of see how it's like a Canvas website, right? Just like a simpler version of it. So yeah, this is like HTML, the end result kind of. Yeah, Terrace. Yeah, I'm working on the first cell underneath this import. Yeah, pretty much underneath this import, there was a small cell. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Okay, let me take a look. Oh, this is the yeah, right here. So I typed it in. Oh yeah, because we typed it in from scratch. So yeah, yeah, yeah. We made this a multi-line string. With the, yeah. Yes, make sure you use triple quotes though. Yeah, all good. Okay, so this is the goal of the lesson, right? The goal of this whole lesson is to kind of understand this stuff right here, but we're gonna see more things, right? Like we're probably gonna see bolding things, italicizing things, right? Like if I were to bold this right here, this single word paragraph, right? We'll see. Well, we already saw this a while ago, but it's a B, right, for bold. Right, so this is anything within these 2 tags will become bold. Right, so then I'll just play it, and we see that paragraph is now bolded. Right, so let's dive down the rest of the lesson. Right, you don't have to copy all of this down. Once again, this is just a sneak peek into what HTML kind of looks like. Right, and we saw that with this person's simple website. Right, the creator of C++ made a very simple website, and I think he used pure HTML for it, which is kind of hardcore. But yeah, this is his code. It's very simple. Yeah, super clean. I think this person's philosophy is keep it super simple. About what? Oh yeah, Virgil. Yeah. Oh yeah. Here, let me look at that person. What is it? Virgil something? Okay. Let me look at this person's website. This one. Okay. Yeah, yeah. This is a clean website. Yeah, it's pretty clean. Yeah. I'm not sure how it's built, but you can always right click it and see the HTML. I think they use the website builder for this. Let's see. Yeah, the layout is super fancy. Pretty much a website generator generated this HTML, which is what modern people use. So yeah, they did not type this from scratch, but it is super clean though. Oh, because it's dynamic. It's not generated from AI. It's like if when people use pure HTML, like right here, it's static, right? Meaning that it's gonna stay the same. But this off white is not static. It's a dynamic website that yeah yeah it's super clean though. Okay, yeah, cool. Any comments or other questions about HTML stuff before we jump into some tags? Okay. I do want to reiterate that the stuff I highlighted right here, this is not Python. This is HTML, a way of formatting text. Okay, let's move down. We did this last class, so I'm gonna skip over it. But a couple days ago, we brought up a couple tags, like the bold tag and the italicized text. In this case, we use an f string, right? So the f string means that we're going to interpolate some variables, right? In this case, we interpolated the color, the plain text, and another plain text. Right, so yeah, take a look at the previous recording towards the later half hour. Right? Go to the last half hour of the last lesson, and then yeah, we pretty much build this from scratch. So I'm gonna skip over this. Okay, let's do some more on HTML formatting, right? And talk about spans again. So let's this is going to be the same as here, right? Right here we're using a formatted string, but we're going to do the same with a format function, right? Just doing the same exact job, right? So I'm not going to use this example right here, the orange. I'm so happy. I'm just going to deviate a tiny bit away from it and just use this hello world, right? Just to show it's the same thing. So let me just grab these two variables here. Okay, go ahead and define those. And instead of using an f string, we're gonna use a template instead, right? It's actually I'm gonna name it template and make it a multi-line string. Right, there we go, template. And we want it to look exactly like here, hello world, hello world. Right, so maybe we should start simple. Like, let's not worry about the color yet. Right, let's just worry about the plain text. Right, so in this case, you can probably do something like hello world. Right, hello world. There we go. And then I'll do hello world again because we want two of them to show up, just like right here. All right, so there we go. There's our template string. Right, it's not an f string, so we're gonna use this template and format it. Actually, no, we don't have to format it yet because there's no holes. All right, so if anything, we meant to do this right here. We meant to put two holes in here and then filled it in with this format function. Right, we're going to put text and then text right here. Right, this is saying that hello world will go into this first hole, and then this second one will go into here. Right, same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and display it. All right, so we need to convert it to an HTML object, right, and then render it. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, cool. We just rendered the template, but we see that there are no breaks. Right, so if you took a look at the previous recording or the lesson, one way of mitigating this is by doing a BR tag. Right? A BR tag doesn't require any closing ones. It's so you don't need you don't need this right here. It doesn't make sense because there's no need to put things in between. So yeah, there's no closing tags for the line break. Right, so there it is. We do the template, and now we see hello world twice. Right, once again, we're trying to get to this same exact result here. So let's try it. Let's do it again with. We need to probably bold some stuff now. It looks like the first line is bolded, and the next line is italicized. Right, so further down the lesson, we'll see how to bold and italicize. Right, like with bolding, right, we want to put the tags around what we're bolding. Right, so this is B, and then this is /B. Right, and then the next one we want to italicize it. So I'll use an I tag. Right, and then oh, and then yeah, someone Joe in the Zoom chat, you see the difference from the paragraph tag now? Yes, perfect. Yeah, the paragraph tag inserts another blank line. It's like a vertical indent. Okay, so we just added a bold and italicized one. So let's run it. Okay, cool. So we have a we're getting there. All right. Well, once again, we're trying to make it like this. Right? We just have one more step to go. We need to make it green now. So we're gonna enclose this whole thing. We're gonna enclose all of this with something called a span tag. Right? A span tag is a fancy way of saying like style. All right, so I'm gonna enclose it with span. All right, but in this opening tag, we need to specify what kind of style. So I don't really know the syntax off the top of my head, but you can just scroll up to see the syntax of the span. So let me scroll up a bit. Right, the syntax for it goes like right here, this right here. So style is equal to some string and then semicolon. Right, and then inside of that string, it's color colon and then another hole. Right, in this case, we do need to fill in this hole. Right, the hole is going to be some color that we defined as a variable. Okay. So let's see. So our template now has 3 holes, right? But our format function only has 2 inputs, right? We need to fill in this first one, right? Hopefully people see that we need to interpolate color into the very first argument right here, right? Color, right? Because green will go into here. Okay, so I'll run it, and there we go. Hello world, hello world. Okay, see? So we just did the same exact thing as the last class. All right, once again, please view the last 30 minutes of the recording because we spent quite a bit of time on this cell last time. But yeah, it's the same thing. So maybe scroll up and down a bunch, and you'll kind of see the difference with F strings and formatted strings. Right? In my opinion, this first approach is a lot cleaner. It's a lot cleaner because we don't have to use a format function. We can just interpolate the variable straight into this string. All right, so we just got exposed to a few things. Bold, italic, span. Right, there's quite a lot of things you can do. I recommend, if folks are interested in it, you can go to this HTML tutorial and kind of skim through it. But yeah, there's so many things we can do with HTML. We're only going to talk about like 7 things we can do. Okay. Oh yeah. Scroll back up right here. Yeah. I think the trickiest part was the span. Okay. Cool, cool. I'm gonna scroll down a bit. Yep, all good. So using format allows us to reuse our previous template and just fill in the holes with different stuff, right? Like if I were to copy and paste this line and change some arguments, right? In this case, maybe I'll change color to, I'll just hard code some string here, like orange, right? I'll just hard code orange, and I'll hard code another text like uh, Andrew and then space tac, right? Just another string, right? That's cool thing about template, right? We can reuse the HTML template, and now it's formatted in the same exact way. Right, really cool stuff. Okay. Jumping down in the lesson, we've actually seen a lot of this stuff already. So, we've seen headings. Oh, I can't edit this cell. If so some cells are read-only, so if you need to edit a cell, then there's a button here, the settings right here, and then comment, and then make it editable. So if you find yourself not able to edit a cell, then yeah, you can force it to be editable. Okay, I can edit it now. So yeah, we've seen headings, right? H3, this is like a small title, right? It's like a subsection, and then paragraph. This is a way of formatting paragraphs, and it inserts vertical indents, as Joe in the Zoom said earlier. Right. So if I were to run this, it just says some small title, my first paragraph, right? But if I were to put more paragraphs in there, we'll see some more. So my third paragraph. Right? And with paragraphs, you don't really need a line break, like the BR. It does it for you. So yeah, I don't think we really need to know about paragraphs too much, but it would be nice if you're creating simple websites. All right, let's scroll down a bit. We saw headings, right, multiple times in the very top of this notebook. We got exposed to big titles, smaller sections, and then sections within those. All right, so this is all the headings right here. Heading 1 is the biggest, and then gets smaller and smaller. Right? I wouldn't really think of them as smaller and smaller. I would think of them as subsections, like heading 1 and 1.2 and 1. No, I would think of it more as like one. Like if you're reading a textbook, like a math textbook, you might see it has chapter 1, right? Chapter 1, and then we'll see like chapter 1.1, right? And maybe you'll see chapter 1.1.1, and then maybe yeah. So that's what I would think of it as, right? Chapter, and then a section within that chapter, and another section within that. So that's what I would think of this as. And it's probably a little better to indent these, right? So this way we can visualize what belongs in what, right? H2 belongs in here, H3 belongs in here. Okay, cool. Good old headings. All right. Okay, let's do a couple more things and then move on to the lab. So HTML, we've seen italic, bold, and underlined. So right here, we're going to see three different things here. Right, this is italic, this is bold, this is underlined. Right, I'm going to edit it and make it on different lines real quick, just because I feel like it would be easier to read. This cell is read only, so I'm just going to go ahead and change it to make it editable. So let's go to top right of it, and then make it editable. Okay, there we go. Okay, editable, perfect. And then I'm gonna put in some line breaks. right? You don't have to do this. Yar. Okay, there we go. All right, let's do one more thing. This is a hyperlink. Okay, hold up. My projectors are overheating. Give me 1 second. A hyperlink is something that you can click on. Right? Folks might think of it as clicking it and bringing you to another website. Right? It's yeah, that's one purpose. Right? You could go to other websites, like in my Canvas homepage. Right? You can click on things and it'll bring you to another website. Like right here, this is a hyperlink. Right? So if I click on it, it'll bring me to the STEM Center, another website. Right? But hyperlinks doesn't really have to bring you to another external place. It can kind of bring you around the same exact page. Right? Like at the top, I have a table of contents, and you can pretty much just click on the table of contents, which will bring you up and down the page. Right? Like here, if I click on course description, boom, it just brings you straight down, right? The same exact page. So hyperlinks are really useful. For now, we're just going to use hyperlinks to move to a different website. All right. So let's see. I'm going to edit this cell and kind of start it from scratch. So let me change this cell to editable and just build it so folks kind of see how it's made. All right. And then we'll move on to the lab. I need to restart these projectors. For folks in person, my projectors are overheating. Okay, let me edit it. Okay. Sorry for the pauses, folks. I'm going blind like every 10 seconds. Okay, let's see. Okay, I was just going to edit this cell and just start from scratch, right, so people can see what's happening. So earlier we saw this this link right here. This link actually brings us to someone else's website, and I forgot to give credit to the person that built this class. I'm pretty much reusing a lot of his material, but this is a hyperlink right here, right? So I'll click on it, and it'll bring me to something called lifealgorithmic.com, right? This is I want to credit someone named Mike Natura. He's a very cool person here at Cabrillo, one of my coworkers, and he works in the computer information systems and kind of built a lot of the material in this class, such as the notebooks, the auto grading capabilities. He also runs the robotics club. This is in 2017, right? And then here's me all the way back there in 2017. But yeah, me and him are pretty cool. Which one is Mike? He is, let me zoom in a bit. He is right here. This is Mike. Right here. That is Mike. This is 2K17 though. I don't think these people are here anymore. Good old robotics. Okay, but yeah, let's talk about links, right? And then we'll move on to the lab. I'm gonna do this kind of quick because my projectors are making me blind every 10 seconds. Let's just put some. This is text, right? Or click here. Click on this. Click below to access the page. Okay, so it says click below to access this page, right? But there's nothing to click yet. So let's make something to click, right? Like maybe I'll put a let me put a BR for break, and then I'll just say here, right? Okay, it says click below to access the page, right? But here, this is not a hyperlink yet. It's just a plain text. So we should make this into a hyperlink, right? There is a tag called A, right? So I'm going to enclose this with something called A, and then end it with an A. I'm not sure what A stands for. Let me actually go to the documentation to see what the A stands for. Yeah. Oh, A stands for attribute. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, that's a good guess. I'm gonna assume that guess for now. Let's see. Oh yeah, Joe says would be nice if there's a dark mode in Jupyter. There is a dark mode. It doesn't work well with a turtle though. So in the settings, if you go on a theme and change it to dark, yeah, you can change it to dark. But if you're working with a turtle, you won't really be able to see it's a trail. Okay. So let's turn this into a hyperlink. Thanks, Terrace. Yeah, A stands for attribute. And one of the attributes we can define is called an href, which stands for a hyperlink reference. So I need to look at the documentation real quick because I forgot the syntax for this. So let me see. Where's the A attributes? Attributes. Oh yes, perfect. Thank you. It was attributes. Cool. So the syntax goes something like href is equal to some string. All right. So let's do that. So href is equal to some string. Okay, you can plug in whatever website you want. So let me just plug in this syllabus right here. Right? You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to copy this URL and then paste it right here. Okay, and then there we go. There is our attribute with a hyperlink reference. So when we run it, we have a clickable link. I click below to access this page, then here. And when I click it, it brings me to the Canvas homepage. Okay. Okay, cool, cool. As we mentioned earlier, we're going to kind of ping pong back and forth from the lesson to the lab. Right? I think we need some time to absorb. In particular, we need to absorb the basics of HTML. Right? With the headings, right? We should apply some headings. We should maybe do some paragraphs, some color, some bold, italics, right? and hyperlinks. Right? So let's absorb this in the lab, and then after that, we'll move on to some fancier elements, right? Like lists, tables, and images. All right, and yeah, this later end of the lesson will be very important for the next uh, project. Okay, but anyways, let's go to the lab, and we should be able to get a few of them done. All right, so in the lab 9 on part 3, go ahead and give it a shot. We should be able to get 1, 2, 3 done. The first 3. This is going to be a really short one, probably like 10 minutes. We'll give it like 10 minutes. All right, I'll help folks get started. We're missing a cell that imports the HTML. So if you're working on this lab, please press the here, right? Click on part 3 and then press the plus button. All right, we need to import a library that lets us use as HTML and display stuff, right? In particular, we're just going to copy and paste this very first cell, right? In the lesson from IPython display import HTML, right? Copy this and paste it into this notebook right here. Okay, I can't edit this cell for some reason. I think I keep pressing a keyboard shortcut that makes it read only. So let me edit it. There it is. Okay, there it is. So import HTML. Okay, yeah, and go ahead and give it a shot. We should be able to do 1, 2, and 3. Right, and yeah, number 4 and 5 and oh, you might be able to do number 6. Right, you might be able to do number 6, but not the 3, 4, and 5. So here, just to summarize it, folks should be able to do 1, 2, 3, and then number 6. And then we'll after that we'll move on to the next stuff. So let's give it a 10-minute timer. It's gonna be a really quick one. And then, see, folks on Zoom, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta restart some stuff. Oh yeah, it's good. Everything. Twice Python. Oh, like everything. So like Python. Not like Python code. Oh, we should. Yeah. Oh, is it the top of the list? Oh. Oh. I did like open like one of the bottom it shows like other like, scripts at the bottom when I'm going from the web browser. That's what I thought you had to do. Hmm. That'll be tricky. Okay, sweet. Nice work to the folks who got it done. Let's go do it together again. All right. Make sure we run this cell. I pasted it from the lesson. So we're going to do a few of these, right? Let's do the bold one. So we need to make a string that represents this bolded sentence. Right? So I recommend always using a multi-line string because it'll help us scale, right? Like as our HTML gets bigger and bigger, we're gonna need to use more lines. So I'm gonna use a multi-line string and then paste in this. I'm really serious right here, right? I'm really serious, right? But then we need to enclose it with the bold tags. There we go, bold tags, and then so our HTML string is now stored in this variable, and now we can display it. Right, so I'm going to convert it to an HTML object first. Right, once again, we haven't really covered objects yet. Just think of this as it's a conversion. It's converting a string to something that we can render. So we're converting this string into something we can render, which we'll put inside of this display function. Okay, there we go. So display, and we got it. Okay, and similarly, the next one is going to be very the same, right? It's going to be italics, meaning we're going to be using the I tag instead of the B. So I right here, and then run it. There we go. I'm really serious. Cool. And then next, the heading. Right, heading is another way of saying title. In this case, we want to make a level 1 heading. Right, so it's going to be my HTML is equal to, I'm going to do a multi-line string again, and then h1, right, for level 1 heading, /h1. My title is title.
If you did the one on top, the "Are you for real?" I'm really serious.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice catch, George. Okay, yeah, I got this one wrong. It should have said, "Are you for real?" Thank you.
No problem.
Are you for real? There we go. Okay, and then title is title, and let's go ahead and display that. HTML, my HTML, and display it. There we go. We should get a big title now. Okay, cool. I wasn't expecting folks to know how to do number 4, but let's get a sneak peek into it. Let's get a sneak peek, and we'll see it in the lesson. So if folks want to get a sneak peek or read ahead a bit, right, this is towards the bottom of the lesson. So go to the lesson, and then if you scroll down a bunch, it talks about lists. We'll cover this in just a bit, but yeah, let's do it. So we want to make an HTML string. I'm gonna make a multi-line again. Right, so an unordered list, right, means that there's no numbers. It's just going to be bullet points. So I'm gonna create an unordered list. It starts with OL, and then the ending tag is an OL. Right, yeah, so that's declaring this whole thing right here, this whole list. Right, but I'm gonna put on multiple lines to make things more readable, because in between we're gonna have list items. Right, in this case, li stands for list item. Right, so list item right there. We're gonna have 3 items. Right, and then it's gonna be it's whatever you want. I'm just gonna use the same exact prompt. Item 3, and then there we go. There's our HTML string, which we can go ahead and convert to a representable one, and then display it. We can render it. All right, there we go. Oh, I used the wrong type of list. So we were supposed to use bullet points, but there's numbers here. I meant to use a UL, which stands for unordered list. So change these to U's. There we go. Okay, let's see. Table, we don't know how to do this yet. I'm gonna skip over it. All right, we'll know how to do this in just a bit. But the hyperlinks, we did this right over here in the lesson. Over here with the attribute hyperlink reference. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply that. Use HTML to represent something. I'm just going to store it in this variable. Right, and to my website. Just to keep it simple, you can just say like here, right, or click. I'll say click here. Click here. Right, but maybe I want to make here clickable, right, and not the whole thing. So here, let me just display it real quick. It's a good programming practice to test frequently. So, it doesn't matter what you make clickable. I'm just going to make this second word clickable, right? Meaning that I'm going to wrap this inside of a attribute tag. All right, so boom, and then there we go. We ended off the closing tag right there. All right, so the attribute, we're going to do hyperlink reference. Right, so the syntax for it, you can view the documentation or the lesson, right? But it goes something like attribute hyperlink reference is equal to some string. Right, so we'll go ahead and do that. So a hyperlink reference is equal to some string. In this case, it really doesn't matter what website you bring it to. I'm just going to bring it to the syllabus as usual. So copy, paste the syllabus, and there we go. Click here, which will bring you to the CIS one. Okay. Okay, I'm just checking out part 4 right now. Okay. Folks might have to end up doing part 4 at home. It is a little tricky because we're going to be combining 2 lessons together. Right, combining F strings with HTML. So let's actually finish the rest of the lesson, and then once again ping pong back to this part 4. So let's go to the lesson and finish up some HTML stuff. We're down here to lists in the lesson. All right, we saw a sneak peek into lists. Right, the first one we saw was an ordered list. Right, and it is important that when we declare an ordered list, right, each ordered list has some list items. So each line, right, has li for list item and then the closing tag for it. Right, so this will give us the first item here. All right, and then we saw an unordered list, ul, right, which gives us bullet points right here instead of numbers. I guess some lists. Okay, let's do tables though. So tables is going to be a little trickier actually. This is probably one of the bigger takeaways from this lesson because it'll help us do the next project. The next project is the same as the weather. We're going to have 2 weather assignments. The second weather assignment will be printing it neater in a table actually. So, I might have to make a separate optional video about the weather, next weather assignment, just because we have like 15 more minutes left in class. So I'm going to make an optional video. Typically, the projects, it's usually like figure it out yourself, but I like to give some optional hints to get folks boosted. All right, so yeah, keep up to date just in case I upload that optional video. But let's talk about tables. Right, so there's some code here that it's kind of just thrown in your face and it's kind of hard to understand. Right, so we're just gonna play this and maybe rebuild it from scratch. Right, so I just pressed play and it brings us this table right here. Hold up, my projectors are overheating again. It's a hot day. Let's maybe build this from scratch to make things a little easier to understand. So I'm just going to make another cell and make a table from scratch. All right, so I'm just going to say my HTML is equal to some multi-line string. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to think of what data we want to store. Let's see. Let's just pretend we're storing people's profiles, right? Like maybe on the first column it'll be someone's name, and then maybe on the second column it'll be their age. Right? It doesn't matter. Let's just pretend like we're making a table of profile data, right? Which is something that you'll see in data science. So when we declare a table, right, there is a table tag. Right? So I'm going to open it and close it with a table. Right? So let's just render it to see what it looks like. Right? So I'm going to convert it my HTML and then display it. All right, let's see what this looks like. I'll play it. Okay, there's the table. We don't see it. It's empty. Right? It's an empty table. So each table has rows. Now let's go ahead and put a row in it. Right? In this case, the first row might be something like a header, right? Like a title that represents what the column is representing. So let's just put a row, right? There's a tag called TR, which stands for table row. So I'm going to put in a row here, TR, and then /TR. Right, so there we go. There's a row, and when I run it, right, it's still not there. Right, but there is a table with an empty row in here. is an empty table with an empty row. So let's go ahead and populate it. Each row has something called a cell, I believe, right? And I think it's with a TD tag. There's TD for table data, and then there's TH for table header. Right? You can see this in the documentation, but I'm going to do the header first. All right, so this is going to look a little hard to read. Right, so I'm going to make it look exactly like this. Right, we need two headers. Right, one header here and another header here. So I'll go TH for table header, TH, and then end it off TH right here. All right, and then another one over here. All right, once again, this is going to look hard to read. I'm going to reformat it in just a bit. All right, yeah, this looks hard to read, but here, let's see. Let's show this. So I'm going to put name in between this first pair. All right, and then on the second pair, I'm going to put maybe age. All right, so let's see what this looks like. So I'll go ahead and run it. Okay, I just ran it, and now you see how there's a row with two headers, right? Name and age. All right, so that's what's here, right? We got one row and then two headers, right? One table header here and another table header here. This is arguably hard to read, and I recommend formatting it in something called nested elements. Right, so it might be more readable if we nest things, like put the table row here, right, and then put the table headers on each separate line. So this is arguably easier to read. Right, this is saying we have one row with two headers. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it, and it's the same thing, but yeah, easier to read because things are nested. Right, we see there's two headers within this row. All right, let's do another row. All right, so be careful with where you put the table rows. Right, I'm going to declare another one here, right? TR and then another /TR, right? Meaning that anything in between, right? Anything that we put in here will be another row. Okay, so let's populate this next row. Right? See, if I run it, there are two rows, but the second one is empty. So let's fill this second row with some data. Right? In particular, it's going to be something like let's just put some dummy names in here, like Alice and Bob. All right, so we're not going to use headers this time. Right? We're going to use something called table data. Right? Table data, they're not going to be bolded. They're not going to be centered. Right? And the tag will be called TD for table data. So I'm going to declare another tag, TD, and then /TD. Right? I'll just put Alice here. Right? And then on the next one, this is going to be their age, right? The second row. So I will do another TD /TD, and then maybe their age. It doesn't matter what their age is. I'm just going to put like 29. Okay, there we go. See, so we just declared another row with two table datas. That's what we see here. Alice and then 29. And then I'm just going to do another row just for demonstration purposes again. Let's do one more row. So TR for table row, and then close the tag /TR. And then I'll just do Bob. So this is table data again, right? Not a header. Oh yeah, and then Joe in the Zoom, headers are always bold. Yes, they are. Sometimes they're rendered centered. But yeah, here it's bold. Okay, Bob, and then the next table data, the next column, TD, and then let's just say Bob is like 19. Doesn't matter. And I just ran it. And there we go. We have a table with 3 rows. Right? The first row contains a header, and then the next 2 rows contain table datas. All right, hopefully people are all cool with this. So we just built a table from scratch. Right? I hope this earlier example makes sense now. This is very important. This is, once again, this is one of the bigger takeaways from this lesson. It's going to help us out with the next weather assignment. Right? In particular, it might be easier to represent this as an F string. Right? Like we just hard coded Alice here, right? Meaning that this is not really a variable. Right? In the HTML weather assignment, we're not going to be hard coding things within the HTML. Right? So you can think of this as like we're going to pull this data from somewhere else. Right? Like let's say we pretend to pull it from here. Right? Like I'm just going to say name is equal to Alice. Right? So I just declared a variable here. Right? And let's say we want to put it in here as an F string. Right? Meaning that I'm going to interpolate a name into here. Right? But we need to convert this into an F string. Right? Because otherwise it wouldn't print it correctly. Right? See, I just put the variable interpolation here, but it prints it like this, right? So we need to convert it to an F string. I'm going to prefix it here F, and don't forget this F, and then I'm just going to put the interpolated variable in here, right? And then run it. Okay, see, it's the same thing, but it's more general, right? It's more general because we didn't hard code Alice into the string, right? We're grabbing the result of some variable. Right? This is how the next assignment works. Right? We're pulling weather data, and we're going to be inserting the current weather data into a table. So yeah, keep this in mind, right? We're going to be combining F strings with formatted HTML tables. Okay, any questions about tables for now?
So when I'm writing this,
Oh, let's see. Yeah, let me see. How does it go into the next cell? What does that look like? Yeah. Yeah, run that. Oh, it's because we're not displaying it. So we need this line right here. Yeah. Yeah, otherwise, it is doing something, but. Looking good. Nice. Yep. Okay, cool. Let's see. Joe says, what? Okay, that's the default style for tables. Any others? Yeah, you can change the style of the table. I'll have to look at the documentation somewhere here. But the default style of the table, I think, is coming from the Python display right here. So whatever this function is doing, it's formatting it for us. But other renderers might display tables differently. But it is possible to change the formatting of tables. I just gotta look somewhere here. Yeah, so somewhere in here, there's some stuff on tables. But yeah, you can just modify attributes. All right. But yeah, this seems to be the default. All right. Let's see. A couple more and we're done with the lesson. And I think folks are going to have to do the rest of the lab themselves. Okay. So let's... we can do something... We can embed images. Right? Images, there's a tag. There's no ending tag for it, by the way. Right? You see how it says image, right? And then there's some data here, but there's no ending tag. So a common pitfall is people would put an ending tag, right? But in HTML, it doesn't make sense to end an image because you can't really put stuff inside the image. So that's kind of why image tags don't really have a closing one. But yeah, pretty much this lets you specify a source, right? Source is equal to the path to some picture. Right? In this case, this is just a path. This is a website that brings us this logo right here. right? And it doesn't have to be a website, by the way. It could be a path to whatever server you're running on. So if you're taking a Linux class, you can put like a path that's on your computer. Right? It doesn't have to be a website. It could be like this right here. Like for folks on Windows, it could be like C drive, right? C drive, users, Andrew, pictures, and then maybe something, right? Something.png. Right? For me, it's not going to work because I'm not on Windows. But yeah, do keep in mind it doesn't have to be a website. Okay, so this is going to be very useful stuff. Okay. Okay, well, we've seen this, so I'm going to skim over it. We've seen paragraphs in the very top of the lesson. Paragraphs is another way of kind of vertically indenting things. Right? So we don't need breaks here because it already puts a vertical break for us. Right? Line 1, right? So that's 3 different paragraphs. It doesn't look like paragraphs, but they are. They're just really small. And then on the contrary, right, if we use line breaks instead of paragraphs, there's going to be less vertical indent. So yeah, it's the same thing. It's just that paragraphs get an extra space. Okay. All right. So that's it for this lesson. We got like 7 minutes left. Let's kind of cram in a few more things. Folks are going to have to do this at home. It's going to be a tiny bit trickier, part 4, but please try it yourself. The goal of part 4 on this lab is to combine formatted strings with HTML. All right, so to try it out, it's actually pretty important stuff, and you know, some of this stuff will be on the exam as well. So I'd like folks to give this a try instead of seeing the solution and copying it down, because on the exam it'll come better if you can struggle through this a bit. So yeah, to try this out at home, please let me know in the discussions, right? If people are having any debugging issues, please go to the discussions here and post, right? Make a post. There's no discussions right here for now. So yeah, don't be shy. Feel free to ask anything. As for the next assignment, right, with the last 5 minutes remaining, let's introduce the next assignment, and I'll consider making an optional video for hints over the weekend. So the next assignment is over here. It's called HTML weather. Right? Don't get this confused with the current weather assignment. Right? So there are 2 weather assignments. This first one is due on the 27th. Yeah, that's tomorrow, I think. And then the next one is HTML weather. So let's talk about this HTML weather. For folks on the previous one, there's some recording that does like, I think, half of the work for you. So please take a look at the previous recordings. But yeah, let's jump into this HTML weather. It is an upgraded version of the previous one. So HTML weather. All right, so I'm going to download this notebook and then upload it to my server. Okay, so let's go here and upload it. Projects. I'm gonna make a new folder. Week 4, HTML weather. There we go. And now let's upload it. And boom, there is the next assignment. All right, it looks the same. It is the same, but instead of printing it plainly, we're gonna be formatting in a table that looks like this right here. Right, so the goal is to make a table, right, where the left-hand side is kind of labeling the right-hand side. Right, so like here, oops, let me run this cell. I accidentally clicked into it. So, there's some stuff down here that downloads a weather dictionary. So it's going to be your job to gather data from the dictionary, right? So access the dictionary and then put the values into a table. Right? In particular, I wouldn't focus on this first row yet. This first row is a little tricky, So maybe let's look at the next ones first, right? The temperature. Right? So think of this, we're making a row. We're gonna type in temperature into the first table data, but then the second table data item will be a value that we gathered from the dictionary. Right, and then same with this one right here, right? We type in high on one row, right? And then on the next column, we're gathering data from the dictionary, right? We're accessing the dictionary and putting it in within the table. Right? So hopefully people see why f-strings are useful, right? Earlier in the lesson, we did an f-string in a table, right? And then right here we interpolated a name, right? Name. Think of this as a variable that we gathered from somewhere else. Right? So we're not hard coding the values; we're gathering it, right? And then it places Alice there. Right? So that's kind of what we're doing. But yeah, make sure before you do this, make sure you can do the previous assignment first, the previous weather. Okay, yeah. Other than that, that's just a little sneak peek. Please let me know if there's any questions on this. Next week, we're going to be doing a very important lesson, actually. So make sure you're all caught up by now because we're going to be talking about functions next week. It's going to take 2 solid days. All right, so I need to edit this schedule right here, but on week 5 next week, right, we're going to be doing all functions right, on Monday and Tuesday. This is one of the I think it's the biggest topic actually because on the midterm it's pretty much asking write a function to do this, right? Write a function to do this. So please come through next week and keep up to date. Right? We're done with HTML, so I'm going to edit this. Right? Functions will take solid 2 days, and it's going to be really cool stuff too. Really cool stuff. Okay, thank you all for coming. Hope you all have a good Wednesday. Yep. You too, Joe. Yeah.